Hello everyone. Today we're going to be converting general form into slope Y-intercept form, and you'll also do some practice with all forms that we've covered so far this unit, including slope Y-intercept form, point slope form, general form, and standard form. So to start with the brain warm-up, to find the equation of a line you only need the slope and a known point. Next, we're going to determine the equation of the line with a slope of 3/4 passing through the point 2, -5. So we've got the slope, we've got a point. It's not the y-intercept, it's just a point. So I would tend to use that right away given the information that we have. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So y subtract -5 works out to y plus 5. The slope is 3/4, so I put that in for m, and x1 I put in 2, so x minus 2 in there. So that's it. That's it for slope point form. If we're going to convert this to slope intercept form, we need to bring this 5 over to the right, and we also need to distribute this and simplify things a bit. So as an intermediate step, let's start by distributing the 3/4 into the x and the -2. So that would be 3/4 x and positive 3/4 times -2/1 is -6/4. So that would work out to be -3/2. Okay, and then we also need to, don't forget that, so subtract 5. Now -3/2 subtract 5. 5 is equivalent to 10/2, so -3 subtract 10 is -13/2. So these constants simplify to -13/2, so then we get y equals 3/4 x minus 13/2. Alright, and then now for general form, I need to make sure again that a is greater than 0, and I need a, b, and c to be in the set of integers. So that's the symbol for integers. It's a sort of a stylized z. So it's good that we have the x already positive, so I'm just going to bring the y over. I also need to get rid of the denominators here because 3/4 and -13/2 are not integers. So let's start maybe by getting rid of those denominators. So quickest way I can do that would be to multiply everything by 4. So 2 is divisible by 4, right? So if I multiply everything by 4, 4 times 1/2, right, would be basically 2. Yeah, so that'd be 4y. Let's do that. 4y. 4 times 3/4 works out to be just 3x, and 4 times 13/2, rather 4 times -13/2 would simplify to be -13 times 2, and -13 times 2 is -26. Okay, and then I just got to bring this y to the right, so let's do that. 0 equals 3x minus 4y minus 26. So there's general form, there's slope intercept form, and there's slope point form, or point slope form, whatever you like. Okay, moving on. Graph this equation by using intercepts and converting it into slope y-intercept form. So let's start by doing the whole intercept routine. Hopefully you remember this from last class. The x-intercept can be found quite simply. What is the value of y where the graph graph crosses the x-axis. So y is 0 there, right? So what I do is I just put y equals 0 into this whole equation, and then I solve for x. So 2x plus 3 times 0 minus 18, 0. So that just goes to 0, so I get 2x minus 18 equals 0. I can bring the 18 to the right by adding 18 to both sides, so that becomes 2x equals 18. And last I got to get rid of the 2, divide both sides by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So our x-intercept will happen at 9, 0. So let's do that. That's kind of over here. It's unfortunate it's a little bit off the grid, but I guess that's what we're stuck with. Okay, moving on, the y-intercept. And you may just want to, hopefully you're writing this a little bit smaller than I am. Just try to maybe keep it to the left of this line if you can. So y-intercept, what's the value of x when it crosses through the y-axis? It's 0, so I put 0 in for x. 2 times 0 plus 3y minus 18 equals 0. So I get 3y minus 18 equals 0. Add 18 to both sides. So positive 18, then I got to divide both sides by 3. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. So the y-intercept is 0, 6. So that would be found here. And from that, I guess I can get a rough picture of what this line should look like. I'll try to do my best here. So roughly, and unfortunately that point down here is a little bit off grid, so it's a bit difficult to tell if I've drawn that very accurately at all. Hopefully slope y-intercept form will give us a bit better of a picture. So to convert this to slope y-intercept form, 2x plus 3y minus 18 is 0. So I need to get y on its own, right? So it's already positive. I can bring this to the right, and I can bring the 2x to the right as well. So I would need to subtract both sides by 2x, so that's there. And I would need to add 18 to both sides like that. So it basically just switches sides and changes signs. And lastly, I need to get rid of this 3, so I need to divide each thing by 3. So we get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 6. So looks like I've got the correct y-intercept, so that's great. And then let's see how I did for my line. So negative 2/3 is the slope, so down to right 3, that looks pretty good. Down to right 3, down to right 3. Yeah, great. Okay, next question. Graph the following lines on the grid provided by converting the equations into slope y-intercept form. So obviously if you're feeling comfortable with this, feel free to pause or skip ahead. Try it out on your own. Alright, so convert it to slope y-intercept form. So I need to get y on its own. So it would probably be helpful for me to bring this to the right side of the equation first so that it's just positive y. You might prefer to do it slightly differently, but I'm going to go for that. So 3x plus 30 equals 5y. And now I'm just dividing by a positive number. Right, so I need to get rid of that 5. I need to divide everything by 5. So the right side will just be y, so maybe I'll just write y equals 3/5 x. That's as simple as it gets, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. So 3/5 x plus 6. So 6 is the Y-intercept, and 3/5 looks like we're going off grid. 1, 2, 3. It'll be up here somewhere, and like kind of ish. Probably better for me to work backwards though, so let's try to find another point where I can actually land on the grid that's provided. So I'd go down 3 and left 5. So that's where the previous point should have come from. So like that. That's the line. So that's for A. Guess we can get rid of that now. Oh, too much. Yeah, good enough. Okay, for part B, again, get y on its own. So let's do that. So 2y equals negative x subtract 10. So again, I just brought this and that to the right because this is already positive. And that, I think, maybe might make your life a little bit easier because you're just dividing by a positive number. So now I just got to divide everything by 2. So then I get negative 1/2 x. 10 over 2 is just 5. So that's the equation. So negative 5 will be there. That's the y-intercept. And the slope is negative 1/2. So down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. So kind of that path. Connect the dots. So that would be line B. Alright, a couple more. State the slope and y-intercept of each of the following lines. So probably be helpful just to convert these to slope y-intercept form. So I'll go 3x plus 28, bring the 4y to the the right side of the equation. 4y, get rid of the 4 by dividing everything by 4. So y is 3/4 x. 28 divided by 4 is just 7. So you can see at a glance that the slope is 3/4 and the y-intercept is 7. Intercept. Okay, similar for this one. Again, I'd recommend you maybe just pause and try that out on your own, but I'll go through it right now. So what I'm going to do is go negative x plus 11. So I brought these over to the right side of the equation, and now I need to divide by 8. Negative 1/8 x plus 11 over 8. So the slope for this line is negative 1/8, or negative 1 over 8, and the y-intercept is 11 over 8. Okay, so summary: to graph a line that is given in general form, what you can do is you could generate a table that's available to us. So you could just maybe pick a random bunch of x values and then figure out what the corresponding y values are. So for example, like for this one, 3x minus 4y plus 28 equals 0. So e.g., if I put x is negative 2, I just need to solve this equation for y. So I'll just do maybe a little bit of a preview of what to do there. Negative 6 minus 4y plus 28. So 28 subtract 6 would be, okay, so I'll just simplify this a bit. 28 subtract 6 is 22. And then, so we could do 22 equals 4y, so I just brought that to the right. And y is 22 over 4. Which I guess so that's both divisible by 2, so that would be 11 over 2. And I guess it didn't work out to be an integer, so that's fine. 11 over 2. So you could figure out what the decimal equivalent of that is. So approximately whatever, and you could graph it that way. Right? So you just have to repeat that process for the remaining x values that you chose and get after it, basically. Okay, the other way you can do it, probably the easier way, is to determine the x and y intercepts. So that method's, I think, probably going to be your quickest way if you're given something in general form. So just looking back to what we did on this last page, right? So it's this type of procedure. Much quicker, I think, because then we don't have to keep doing this. Or what we can do is convert the equation into slope y-intercept form. And that way is pretty reliable as well. So I would probably recommend this or that, depending on the situation, over this, but you know, depending on what the question asks you to do, you may have to do one or the other over your other options. Alright, some questions you can try out there. So, yeah, you try that out. Alright, so for this part, I would like for you to just pause the video now and try both the front and the back of this page. So just do this. So we'll go through the brain warm up together, but I think you can do question number 1 on your own. So you want to put A, B, C, and D on the first grid. So first grid, these two you'll put on the second grid. So this one down here. I'll give you maybe a little bit of a hint for the questions on the back here if you feel like you need a little bit of help. So for B, hint, start with the point slope form. So notice there are 2 lines here that go through the crosshairs, so here and what's this one? Here. So you can use these 2 points as your starting point and work out from there. C is pretty straightforward, I think. D, pretty much the same. And E, just a little bit of a hint there. Perpendicular, remember what that means, so I'll just give you this. So equivalent, you do 2x minus 18 equals 5y. Get rid of the 5, so we have y equals y equals 2 over 5 minus 18 over 5. So the slope, oh, I guess I should be having an x in there. 18 over 5. So the slope here of the existing line is 2 over 5. If you wanted something that was perpendicular to that, so slope perpendicular would be negative reciprocal of that, so negative 5 over 2. So problem simplifies to figuring out a point that passes through that point and has that slope. Alright, so let's go over it in more detail. Again, feel free to skip ahead if you want. So you should be able to do these kind of on your own, more or less. Okay, so name the following forms of the equations. This is slope y-intercept form. This is slope point form. And this is general form. So the restrictions on capital A, capital B, and capital C, they need to be integers. So integers, and also A needs to be greater than 0. The slope of a line describes the steepness. Alright, so let's check over what you do here. So sketch the graph of each line and label it. We have y equals negative x plus 7, fairly straightforward, so the y-intercept is there. The slope is negative 1, so you can just generate a few points. Okay. Draw the line. And okay, that will be A. Moving on to B, there is a 0 basically for the y-intercept, so it's got to cross through the origin, and 1/5 is the slope, so up 1, right 5, up 1, right 5, and if you want to generate the previous ones, down 1, left 5, down 1, left 5. So here we'll have a line like that. So that's B. Y plus 5 equals 0, so let's maybe just convert that so that it is y equals negative 5. So we just have a y-intercept, there's 0 slope, right? So plus 0x if you like, but that's just gone. So 0 slope means a horizontal line, and it's got to pass through negative 5. So that would be our line for C. And last one in that group, x equals minus 3. So x equals minus 3 is there. And it's x equals minus 3 for all possible values of y. So that is a vertical line. That looks like that. So that would be D. Okay, moving on. Y minus 5, so on. So let's change this to slope-intercept form. So negative 2x minus 6. And then we can bring this to the right, so it'll be negative 2x minus 1, right? Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. So negative 2x minus 1. So minus 1 is the y-intercept. Negative 2 is the slope, so down to right 1, down to right 1, and so on. Draw a line through them. Just shift that a little bit. That looks about right. So that is E. Using slope y-intercept. Okay, so let's bring the negative 4 to the right. So we got 3x minus 8 equals 4y. Get rid of the 4. So 4 needs to divide through everything. Get y equals 3/4 x minus 2. So 3/4 x minus 2, the y-intercept will be there. 3/4, 1, 2, 3, right 4. 1, 2, 3, right 4, and so on. Okay, and I guess if we want to go the other way, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got enough points there. Connect the dots. I tried. I'll just readjust. Okay. That is F. last one on this page. Okay, so 2x minus 18 equals 6y. Divide through by 6. So y is 2 divided by 6 reduces to 1/3, so 1/3 x. Negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3, so negative 1/3 x minus 3. There's the y-intercept. 1/3, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. The other direction, down 1, left 3, down 1, left 3, down 1, left 3. So let's connect them. Alright, so that would be G. Alright, moving on to the ones on the back. So here we have determine them in slope y-intercept form, so that's pretty good. There's 3, so 0 comma minus 3. I also need the slope, so going from here to, where's the next point available? Looks like that goes through the crosshairs, so from here we need to go up 4. So up 4 and right 2. So slope is 4. It's the rise over the run. 2, 4 over 2, so that's 2. Just positive 2. And we have b, so it's negative 3. So 2x minus 3. Okay, for the next one, we can figure out the slope. So to get from there to there, we need to add 5, and we need to go to the right 2. So slope is rise over run, 5 over 2. That's as simple as it gets. And it looks like the y-intercept is about half, about negative half, but I guess we can't be too certain. I know it looks for sure like it passes through 1 comma 2, so I'm going to use that point to figure out for sure if this y-intercept is 1/2, negative 1/2. So I'm going to start with point slope form, mx minus x1. So my slope is 5/2, 5/2, x minus 1, and y minus 2, so that's the point I'm using. So let's distribute this 5/2 in there, so it would be y equals 5/2 x minus 5/2. Remember, the 5/2 has to hit both things inside the brackets, and don't forget we need to add 2 to both sides. So negative 5/2 plus 2, negative 5/2 plus 2, 2 is equivalent to 4 over 2, so that works out to negative 1/2, and there we go. So y is equal to 5/2 x minus 1/2. That is it. Hopefully you didn't write as big, sorry about that, but I guess you would have done it on your own anyways. So there we go. Good. Alright, x-intercept of 4 and parallel to the y-axis. So x-intercept of 4 means point is 4, 0, and parallel to the y-axis means, is it a horizontal line or a vertical line? So it's going to be a vertical line. And that's pretty straightforward, so it just needs to be x equals 4. And I guess if we're going to get it into general form, we should have x minus 4 equals 0. So that looks to be like that, right? So coefficient on x is 1, coefficient on B is 0, coefficient, or I guess C is -4. So that's it for that one. Passing through -4, 5, and -10, -3, we need to figure out the slope here. We don't have the slope. So slope is rise over run, so back to this sort of routine. Remember the x's happen first and the y's come second in each set of brackets. So we're going to go -3 subtract 5 divided by -10 subtract -4. -3 subtract 5 is -8. -10 subtract -4 is the same as -10 plus 4. So -10 plus 4 is -6. -8 divided by -6 simplifies to +4/3. So we have a slope, and now we can use point slope form. So y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So I'm free to use either this point or this point. I think it doesn't really matter which one you use, remember, as long as you're consistent. So I'm going to stick with that choice. I'm going to put that for those two. So again, it's arbitrary which one of these you use as long as you stick to that choice. So that'll be y plus 3 equals, we have the slope now, that's 4/3, x minus -10, so x plus 10. And now we just need to get this into general form. So I need to get rid of this denominator. So I guess as a start, okay, so it would probably be easier if I just multiplied everything by 3. That's probably what I would prefer to do because I think it'd be quicker. It saves me the step of having to distribute the 4/3 into each of these. But I think it might be a little bit more straightforward for everyone if I just do that at the start. But you'll probably see what happens in a moment if I hadn't distributed that, or if I hadn't multiplied everything by 3 first. So, alright, so I've distributed the 4/3 into each of those things. Great. Now I'm going to get rid of the denominator by multiplying by 3. So multiply both sides of that by 3. So the left side of this equation will be 3y plus 9. The right side of this will be 4x plus 40. And let's bring everything to the right because the coefficient on x is positive. So I bring this to the right, so it'll be 4x subtract 3y. And I bring this to the right, so it'll be 40 subtract 9, which is 31. Okay, so that's general form for this line. Okay, nearly done. Passing through -4, 5, and perpendicular. Remember that means something specific. So let's maybe just double check that I've done this right because it's been a few minutes. So I brought the 5y over 2x minus 18, great. 2x, so then I divided everything by 5, 2/5, -18/5. The slope, so if I was looking for a parallel slope, it would be 2/5. If I was looking for a perpendicular slope, it would be flip that and make it negative. Okay, so that's good. Alright, so I've got a slope and I've got a random point. I can use slope point form, x minus x1. Okay, so that's your y1, that's your x1. So y subtract y1, y subtract 5, minus 5/2, x plus 4. So let's just simplify that a little bit. distribute the 5 halves, negative 5 halves into each of those things. So negative 5 halves x minus, what would that be? So negative 5 halves times 4. Negative 5 halves times 4 over 1 would be negative 20 over 2, which is negative 10. Alright, and we're nearly there. We just got to get rid of this negative 5. So add 5 to both sides, add 5, add 5. Good to go. Y equals negative 5 halves x. Negative 10 plus 5 is just negative 5. So we're done. Okay, hopefully you did alright with those questions. Maybe just let me know how you did on those, and I'll see you next time.